You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. Justice Clarence Thomas has always shown he really doesn't give a damn about black folks. Well, check this out. So last week, the Supreme Court handed down a decision that struck down a case out of Mississippi where a white DA consistently used peremptory challenges to remove black jurors. Well, Clarence Thomas pretty much argued that it's okay to kick black people off of juries. And the case was Flower versus Mississippi, and Curtis Flowers was going to have to be tried again because the prosecutor, again, kept excluding black jurors. And he kept getting knocked down by the courts, and he kept going back and doing it over and over and over again. 6 previous trials, okay? 41 out of the 42 black folks removed from the jury. Now, the Supreme Court released the audio recording of the oral arguments. Clarence Thomas rarely ever asked questions. All of a sudden, he woke up and decided to ask a question, and it was Justice Sonia Sotomayor who basically had to smack him down with facts. Press play.
Ms. Johnson, would you kind enough tell me whether or not you exercised any peremptories?
I was not the trial lawyer.
Well, were any peremptories exercised by the defendant?
They were.
And what was the race of the jurors struck there?
She only exercised peremptories against white jurors. But I would add that her motivation is not the question here. The question is the motivation of Doug Evans.
She didn't have any black jurors to exercise peremptories against, except the first one.
Except the first one.
But so did the prosecutor accept that one.
Correct.
After that, every black juror that was available on the panel was struck.
Yes, he struck one. He seated one African-American juror, and at the very end, struck one white juror. When all of the evidence in this case is considered, just as in Foster versus Chapman, the conclusion that race was a substantial part of Evans' motivation is inescapable, and the Mississippi Supreme Court's conclusion to the contrary is clearly erroneous.
Thank you, counsel. The case is submitted.
Mr. Gaddis, you gotta love that. Clarence Thomas like, well, did the DA, the defense strike any black jurors? They were like, no, because the white prosecutor struck all the black people, so there was no black people left.
You know what? There's an old saying: if there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do us no harm. Clarence Thomas has consistently demonstrated nothing but disdain and passionate disrespect for black people. It is I don't think I need to say anything else. I know it's an unfiltered show, but it might not be very nice.
No, you can go ahead and say that's what's unfiltered. Mo Kelly, again. I mean, Clarence Thomas, his opinion pretty much was, yeah, go ahead and remove the black people. It's okay.
Clarence Thomas has been, if he's been anything, he's been consistent. He has always and consistently sided against African Americans, and that's part of the reason why he's on the court. He was to replace Thurgood Marshall, but also be the antithetical to Thurgood Marshall. He only has something to say. He only has some legal opinion to offer when it has to do with black folks. And this is something we said we shouldn't relitigate 2016, but we have to reinforce what 2016 meant. A lot of folks had this false impression that there was just a choice of either Hillary or Donald Trump, and we got sucked into that as a community. So we started voting for Jill Stein or Bernie Sanders and losing sight of the fact that there were 2 Supreme Court justices at stake, hundreds, if not thousands, of federal judges at stake. And this is proof positive why we need to make sure that our community is educated to understand we're not just voting for a president in 2020. We're voting for people like Clarence Thomas, who may be there for the next 30, 40 years.
Karen, it wasn't a shock when I saw this decision 7-2 that Clarence Thomas was one of the 2.
Of course not. And I want to bang Mo's gong because that's what I was saying during 2016. Hillary Clinton could be a convicted pedophile. Not really, but I was going to vote for her because it was not about Hillary Clinton. It was about the courts. And next 2020 is about the courts. We're seeing it now with this dismantling of Roe v. Wade, and they have a very strategic thing, which is what you're talking about, Roland, with even the men, focusing on the men. It's strategy. They start with the lower courts, They pack the upper courts, and it just keeps going. And if we're not sophisticated, look, I don't care who is the nominee, even if it's Pete Buttigieg, I'm voting for him in 2020 because it's that important.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, they're back. MarijuanaStock.org has another great investment opportunity. If you were lucky enough to invest in their last crowdfunding campaign, you know they raised a bunch of money in just a few months investing in legal marijuana farms. Those initial investors now own shares of a publicly traded company. And, of course, again, a lot of y'all sent me emails saying, how can I get involved? Well, guess what? Now they have a new investment opportunity that is as good, if not even better than the last one. I'm talking about industrial hemp CBD. For those who don't know, the hemp plant is the cousin to marijuana with a much higher concentration of CBD, which means hemp CBD gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. But the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the United States and creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all of the plants, and this makes for an incredible investment opportunity. And that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords, and you can get in on the action. You can invest in the crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. Now, all you got to do is go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org to get in the game. You should do it now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.